Hey guys, we are here doing the things, and probably not going to stay on for very long tonight. This week has been kind of rough. I mean, we've come back from NDK, and there's still you know, back here, everything's still kind of messed up. Everything over here is messed up. All the things are the things. So I'm thinking that probably what I will do is just come back in tomorrow like a normal human being and get back to work. I did actually do some good work today. I actually put in a little bit of work on one of the pages earlier from the comic because I was just not focused and I couldn't stay focused and I was having the hardest time, and doing stuff. So my thought is we'll go ahead and I'll take all my little nighttime pills and things like that, and then I'll wrap it up and we will head on out of here in a bit, and that will work really well. Like I said, I kind of did some work on this page, so I will show you a little of what we did here in a second. That's all right. Actually, was at Star Trek 2, which they were showing in the theaters, and is still the bestest movie ever. So I went on ahead. Bestest movie ever, not debatable. There's no debate. It is objectively the bestest movie ever. We were just talking about this. We had this talk. Okay. I went on ahead and during Star Trek Day today drew this page started drawing this page because I was just doing stuff and hanging out and doing the things. So I went on ahead and started working on this because I was just tinkering around. And did not want to load all of the rest of the programs that need to be done now for the next phase of what we're going to have to go into for Elio 4, because illustration 4 is not done. It wasn't even started, so we're going to have to pose it. So that's fine. We'll do that, and that won't be an issue. But I'm going to take my pills, my back pills, and then you and I are going to hang out for just a few more minutes. And then we're going to go to bed. Is what we're going to do because we're all tired and we're beat. And I'm wiped out and grumpy and cranky and kind of even with Star Trek 2, kind of had a rough day. So it's going to be a thing. So yeah, actually, it's what I'm going to do is I'm going to get off this stream. And one of the things I have learned to do is to lay on the floor with my feet up on a chair. And if I can do that after relaxing for it takes about 5 or 10 minutes, then my back will sometimes snap back into place. Then I can use the roller and that gets it to go into its curve. So the first thing it does is line them all in a line like this, and then the roller puts them back in alignment. So between the two of them, we get it down. But during the con, I'm just crashing in bed and I'm not doing all of the 10 minutes that needs to be done to settle in. You know what I mean? It gets difficult to do all that because it's convention time and you know how it goes. So I had an interesting observation, though, watching Star Trek 2. Star Trek 2 came out in 1982. And in 19 and so that was that that's it was 1982. And William Shatner was born in 1932. So I had this realization that Bill Shatner in Star Trek 2 is 50 and I'm 50. And Star Trek 2, yeah, Star Trek 2 is pretty much the same age as you. I mean, obviously. So, anyway, I was 10 years old. So, that's a thing. But, yeah, I was just watching Bill Shatner and going, I got more hair than he does. But it's, silver. But I still have all the hair up here. Bill. So, someday I'm going to lose all the hair up there just because I keep making snarky comments about that. And that's what's going to happen. My dad got a really cool widow's peak as he grew older. Like the hair line receded, but he got this really wicked widow's peak that was just neat looking. But then towards the end, he had like little tufts of hair there. It was actually really adorable. My dad, as he grew older, got more and more floofy. And it although my dad was never the big tough, that wasn't his shtick. He liked teddy bear as a mode. That was his favorite mode, even as dad. I mean, he would still waggle his finger, but I was much more inclined to not disappoint him. That worked a whole lot better than making him mad. So, I mean, fear of making him mad. I was more afraid I'd disappoint him. And so, anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I'm 50, man. This is what I got at 50, and it's actually not bad. I've still got quite a bit of hair up here. 50. Not doing bad at all. So, and I can dye it. In fact, I'm, kind of going through the action set here and going, I wonder what color I want to do my hair next. Because some of these are very attractive. I'm just saying. Right? Nuclear green. Even the dark green would be pretty kick butt. We have Boimler purple, which is probably what's next. Yeah. That we know of. I mean, he may not have, for all we know. Leonard Nimoy was such a gentle soul that nobody really wanted to find out if he didn't have full hair. You know what I mean? Like, Bill Shatner is a pompous jerk sometimes. So you kind of pick on him because he's kind of a butt. And so you're like, well, if you're going to be a butt, we're going to pick on you, So, but Leonard Nimoy was so even keel and sweet. You didn't want to find out if he was bald. You didn't want to find, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't want to know those things. You just didn't. It's a lesson to be learned as for how to deal with the universe in general. So I did change a line here to reflect a discussion I had with my buddy James. So the line originally was he passed the island, implying that there is some kind of military base for training. But I put instead, he is over the age of consent, which is an important distinction because we are going to have a discussion about 14 being the age of consent for humans, and therefore Alex has the ability to make the choice for herself whether she wishes to stay on board and join the Navy, so to speak. So she's not the age of majority, but she's age of consent, which means that she can make provisional choices on her life. So James and I had discussed age of consent versus age of majority. There's two different hallmarks for each race. One is age of consent, where you are developed enough that if I ask you if you really want to join this college or go to this school, you are qualified to make that choice. Then there's age of majority, and that's where you're old enough to buy a house or have a car or something like that. And for each one of them, they're biological. So for humans, it's at puberty is age of consent, 1 year after puberty. And then when the frontal lobe gels, quickens, is age of majority. And then we put in, James, who is, of course, my nibbling's father. The first thought was, okay, but does that mean that if you can consent, you can consent to sex? And I was like, no. This has nothing to do with sex. This has everything to do with your choices. If you're over the age of majority and you're in a relationship with someone who's under the age of majority, that's taboo in the culture. It doesn't matter which race you are. And in fact, if this AI, let's say the age of majority for AIs is like 6 years old or something like that, just making up a number. If the captain were to date the AI, it would not be appropriate because our captain is over the age of majority and the AI is just over the age of consent, which is a different era. So the AI was allowed to choose to join the Navy, and so he is brand new at 3 years old. He joined the Navy at 2. So we can do the same thing with Alex. She can join the Navy as she's 14 and the age of consent is 13. So she's of the age that she can make that choice. So, however, she will still have to have a guardian, which will be Mayrel, who will, because of translation, end up saying, I want to make a family with you, which will become this very uncomfortable, creepy scene until Mayrel realizes what the translation was saying and go, no, and it'll be very weird. Right. Well, yes. I am using the characters that we know, which are only characters that are on the Kittiwake. So, but you're right. They can't date inside ranks anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Or at least in chain. They can't date in the same chain of command. So that is absolutely true. So, but that's the thing. So, besides, I mean, character-wise, Chang's not looking for anybody anyway. She's not. I mean, she might be somewhere down the road, but not today. That is not where she is right now in the story. She is not interested. So, anyway, that allows me to sidestep all of the problems I was having with the story of why is it you're letting the MacGuffin to the entire universe stay on a little Corvette that's tootling around nowhere. A, Alex is going to lie. So she's not going to tell them anything. And B, she's above age of consent, so she can join the Navy. So as long as she doesn't screw up, they can let her stay on board. So that's how that works. And that will solve all of the how did you let the ticking time bomb of doom live on, how did you end up picking up Jesus of Nazareth and then sticking him on some cruiser out in the middle of nowhere and not telling anybody or whatever. The most important person in the entire plot, and you stuck them out there. So that's how we're gonna do it. All right, they updated OBS, and it's like all the buttons are weird. It's kind of wild. I mean, they're all roughly the same, but they did a lot more room over here. So that's a thing. All right. So one thing I'm noticing is that I'm not getting anybody really joining me at night. Yeah, it is. It's a really big update. I'm not really getting that many people joining me at night, and I could use the extra sleep. So I'm starting to think that I'm going to start winding down the night shows, because really it's just you and me, Brent, and you could use the sleep and I could use the sleep, and we're here in the day. You're here every day too, most of the time, 90% of the time. And when you're not, it's just because you have to go off and put out a fire or something, and you'll be back generally. So, and we're back into school, so I'm going to be here most of the time anyway during the day. I got the first 2 hours, so kind of thinking that I might start winding the night shows down. That'll allow me to go to bed with the rest of the family, which just went to bed just now, and read before I go to sleep and pop my back and all the dumb things, because I hate leg cramps and stuff. So kind of thinking that, pondering it. So anyway, that's my thought on this one. I'm thinking that you and I can go hit the hay here in a minute, and we'll resume work tomorrow. So we will resume work in the morning. So there you go. Star Trek 2 was just as awesome as it has always been. Oh, and they made a change that I have kind of liked. It was an interesting change. First of all, this was the director's cut, which added some scenes back in that were cut originally from the theatrical version. And I like the director's cut better because it adds a little bit more color to everything, and that's kind of nice. But second of all, they cut one scene. They just cut the audio out. It was a good scene, and I was like, yeah, I agree with that cut. That's very funny. There's a scene where after Kirk is picked up from Regula and brought aboard, they're walking from the transporter, and Spock says, "We're inoperable below sea deck," and Kirk says, "What is working around here?" And he goes, "Not much, Admiral. Best we could do in 2 hours." After that, in the director's cut, they show a scene of the Jeffries tube where they climb up, open the door, and then climb up, and then Spock comes out, and then Kirk comes out. Well, Kirk comes out, and then Spock comes out, and they're all climbing up through Jeffries tubes to show that they're not working. They can't use elevators. They can't use the turbo lifts. They can't use, things. In the original director's cut, you can't see their mouths because it's looking down on them. Kirk climbs up and goes, "That boy back there is my son." And Spock goes, "Fascinating." And it's such a horrible take. And the take is terrible. And it really was. And I can see why they cut it. But you do need that scene to show that there are Jeffries tubes, to show Spock later going down there. So I see why they needed the scene, but I love the fact that they cut the audio out, because really it was not a good take. And so I can see that they cut it because of the take. And so they put it back in, but they cut the audio out, which is good. It's better that way. It does well. This was a pretty good remaster. The colors are rough generally because so that's a story in and of itself, and I only have a few minutes, so I'm going to tell you the story real quick. They're called Monster Maroons because the uniforms are called Monster Maroons because the colorists in the 80s did a bad pass for the VHS copies. So they were blood red in the movie theaters and then went out into video. Hello, Merrick. We're talking about Star Trek 2, which I just saw at the movie theater. Again, it's still the best movie. And I'm not letting Brent have any discussion on that. I'm not brokering any discussion with Brent on this one because Brent is arguing with me that it is not the best movie that is ever made. Anyway, yes. So the colorists that transferred to video in the 80s transferred all of the color wrong and made the uniforms look maroon. And so for years throughout the 80s and the 90s, we all literally thought that those uniforms were maroon. I actually thought they made new uniforms for Star Trek 5 and 6 that were red. So, and it's so much so that the fans have called those uniforms the Monster Maroons. And they're called Monster Maroons because they're actually really hard to make. And so when you want to make a Monster Maroon, it's an endeavor. So anyway, that's why the remastering you're talking about, they did go back and adjust the color. So even the 2K version of it is remastered up so that they are back to blood, which is what color they should have been, was blood red. But part of the reason they did the adjustment, though, is because the handprint on the white that Kirk has was too rich of a red color. The fake blood that they used was wrong. So the handprint ended up being too bright. And so part of it was that the colorist was adjusting all reds down and instead took the Monster Maroons down too. So anyway, 'tis the way it goes. So Merrick, I am only hanging out here for a few more minutes. I don't know. I am beat. Brent is beat. You're probably beat too, right? We're all beat. Why don't we all just go to bed? It's Thursday night, so I will see you again, Merrick. I will see you again Sunday night on this one because that works on this one. And Brent, I will see you tomorrow morning. You know, Merrick, if you want, if you're available during the day, I broadcast from 9 a.m. Mountain Time to 11 a.m. Mountain Time as well. And you can join me there. So I know you're probably a night person. I have a kid. So I once was a night person, and I'm not anymore because kid. So see you tomorrow in the morning, Brent. And I will probably see you as well, Merrick. I'll either see you Sunday or I will see you during the day shows. You are welcome to them as well. And I will see you later, guys. Have a good evening. Good night.